Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Whisky Exchange. And I am so excited tonight to have these four absolutely amazing guests. And we're here to talk about rum, one of my absolute favorite subjects, but more importantly about rums based on sugarcane juice. And, you know, I fell in love with rum about 2 years ago, partly because these gentlemen introduced me to some of the best rums in the world. But sugarcane juice rum for me really resonates with me because, as some of you know, I'm a wine nerd. My background's wine. There is something about sugarcane juice that reminds me of the terroir and that whole idea behind what wine, that whole kind of concept of being able to take product in the bottle. So tonight I have four amazing people with me. I have Daniele Biondi, who is my rum yoga.
Hello, everyone.
Taught me everything I know about rum. He's been an absolute legend. We've got Danilo, who is the king of Damoiseau, and also is one of the best cocktail makers in the business.
Wow. Hi, everybody.
And then I have Vittorio Capovilla, who I have been in awe of since the time began. He makes some of the best grappas and destillados in the world. So if you've never tried them, try them. But he also makes rum. And Alvise, who's joining him as well. And they are the team behind some of the best liquid coming out of Italy and Marie-Galante. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Cheers. So what I kind of want to do is just start out there and just say, why sugarcane juice? Why is that so exciting as a category in rum? Because I think, especially in the UK, we don't really understand it. I think people don't drink it as much as they do in, say, France and in the continent. I don't know who wants to jump on that one. Danny?
Daniele.
In generale.
Me. You have two Danny, so when you say Danny, it can be Danilo or me.
Biondi, then.
So why juice? Yeah, it's a very small. If you think the whole production of rum juice is very small, and historically it's consumed like in French, in French territories and in France, in Europe, in Italy as well, but maybe not really known in UK, as you said. Why juice? Because as a raw material, it's surely much better. Much richer, it can give you much more opportunities, let's say, than the molasses based, the molasses actually. Then this doesn't really mean that the final result, so that the rum from this raw material is always better than molasses rum, because it's very important, how you work with this raw material. It's very important, the fermentation, the distillation and everything. So all the phases of the process. But let's say that if you wanna have, the highest result, and if you wanna do your best in all these phases of production, it's pretty true that, the juice is much richer. When it's fresh, you can think the sugarcane juice like the juice of a fruit, okay? So sugarcane is a sort of fruit in some way, and so it's the same if you speak about I don't know, grape spirits or grappa, so one is really the spirit of the fruit, the fresh fruit, and one is the distillation of the byproduct, okay? And you can take the example of grapes or grappa, but also other kind of fruits. And happy to have Capovilla here talking about this. For sure, the fresh raw material is always much richer and better and more versatile than the byproduct.
And that's a really nice sort of segue into it. So Alvise and Vittorio, your grappa producers, your destillado producers, why did you go to rum? And actually, we could taste your rum first. So the first bottle is the rum. Just sort of, so why go from Italy to the Caribbean?
la prima causa...
So is it okay if we speak some Italian and then translate and then we do a mix?
Perfetto.
La prima causa è Luca Gargano, la seconda causa è la curiosità. Io da distillatore non ho pregiudizi su cosa distillare. Poi naturalmente il mondo della canna da zucchero è infinito, o quasi. Giustamente per ricollegarmi a quello che diceva Daniele, la canna da zucchero bisogna vederla come fosse un frutto, cioè ogni varietà, che ci sono 120, 130 ibridi, ogni canna ha un proprio, come dire, corredo aromatico, una propria aromaticità. Naturalmente se si fanno le cose per bene e si distilla con un certo sistema, noi riusciamo poi a cogliere anche queste sfumature varietali delle diverse varietà di canna. E sto lavorando su questo anche a Marie-Galante, di far piantare appunto queste vecchie varietà che poi aromaticamente sono interessanti, perché non dobbiamo pensare solo ai rum invecchiati, che lì naturalmente c'è l'intervento umano, la scelta di legni, e poi chi più ne ha più ne metta, perché usano di tutto. Ma parlando di cose serie, c'è comunque il prodotto che è condizionato dalla tipologia di legni, dalla tostatura, eccetera, che alla fine abbiamo un risultato, ma abbiamo perso quello che è la personalità aromatica del succo di canna fresco. Cioè io trovo che sia molto interessante, io da distillatore di frutta, trovo che sia molto interessante produrre dei rum bianchi con determinate varietà che offrono uno spettro aromatico estremamente interessante, perché noi stiamo bevendo qui il nostro C-Punch, che è un aperitivo perfetto, semplicemente con un cubetto di ghiaccio, il 56 gradi e una scorzetta di lime, è un aperitivo assolutamente perfetto. Ecco.
So, to answer your first question, which was White Rum, the first reason is Luca Gargano, Capo said, and obviously the second one is curiosity. So without that, we wouldn't do what we do every day. How we distill is perfect, also for many differences in all the varieties, because as a fruit, as a pear, so we have hundreds of pears, hundreds of apples. As all the fruits we distill all year long. Also, the sugarcane juice is such interesting to us, because with the bain-marie stills we distill with, we can just get all the shapes and all the aromas we can get from the sugarcane. So Capo was making you look at the C-Punch, which is our version of the T-Punch, which I guess Danilo was drinking. But in this case, no, Danilo, the other guy, yeah. But in this case, there is no liquid sugar or sugars, and just the lemon zest, and not a lemon piece. So this is our version of the Caribbean aperitif, and obviously with a small ice cube, because the one you see here is the, I guess you have this one for the tastings.
Oh no,
right?
we've got the, is it the 41%, so the green label.
41, okay, so the green label. In this case, don't do the C-Punch with the green label. That's not correct. You have to do it with the orange one, which is 56, ABV, and it's perfect with the oils coming from the lemon zest and with the ice cube, which reduces a bit the ABV. So no sugars, just the oils, which take out the vegetal part of the spirit.
And I think it's really interesting. I mean, Danilo, I think a lot of people are scared to drink. They don't know how to drink sugarcane juice rums. How do you think they are more versatile in cocktails? Or how you drink them in tea punches?
Totally. Totally, yeah. There are many variations, many ways of drinking Arabica rum. If you talk about simple drinks, is obviously you have to start with a tea punch. Mine, yes, I'm drinking a tea punch, but sugar and lime are in the fridge. So this is just straight white because I like that way. But yeah, this is a kind of spirits that is very versatile for making drinks. When we talk with bartenders, we can have the same approach we have for other craft spirits like mezcal or cavados or grappa. Basically, this is a very fat juice, so it's fatty, it's thick, remind me a little bit of agave. So for agave lovers, it could be interesting to work with grapes, for example, works very, very well. A lot like kind of Paloma, it works very well with agricole rum. Tiki drinks, so everybody loves Mai Tais and all the other colorful tiki drinks. So yeah, in tiki drinks works very well. It's fat, it's fruity, it's a little bit peppery. So this is specifically the Damoiseau one. But I think we can talk about, generally speaking, about agricole rums, white wines. Works very, very well with all the juices when we want to keep it simple. Then, of course, it's very versatile. It's all about doses. It's all about the good pairing. That's all.
That's all done. I mean, one thing I've just discovered is using a 3 cents Paloma, the pink grapefruit.
Exactly.
I mean, Clarana, because I love Clarana, of course. But, you know, I think it works really well with agricole. It's a really nice, simple serve. And I think, you know, a lot of people need a simple serve because it just, it just helps.
It's like your parachute. Yeah, I have simple syrup. But yeah, as you said, I didn't want to talk about brands, but yeah, 3 cents of grapefruit soda, it works perfectly. Yeah. You can have a kind of salt rim on the side and it works magnificently. Yeah.
Ooh, I haven't tried.
All the fruity mixers. Try with coconut water, try with ginger ale, with ginger beer. You know, the mule, you can make a mule with everything. So with you, I love with Amaro, but I love with agricole too, for example. So.
Okay, nice. I'm gonna go home.
Try the mixers you like. I know in the UK people love mixers, so try with any mixers and see the one you prefer.
Absolutely, no, it's good. And actually, we brought up something right there that I think probably is really good to kind of define straight off. And I don't know who wants to kind of pick this one up. What is the difference between a sugarcane juiced rum and an agricole rum? Because I think that's something that needs to be very clear in terms of what makes it agricole and what makes it just a sugarcane juice rum.
Who's going to answer?
Who's going to answer?
One to answer question. Biondi.
Or whoever.
I mean, maybe I'm the right person actually, because what
and
we
actually,
do.
Maybe Danny, because we've got the grog and we've got the rum, so maybe we could look at the two side by side as a comparison.
Exactly. What is? I'm happy because today we have like both. So they are all sugarcane rums, but you know, maybe just Danilo is agricole in the proper meaning. So sugarcane is the raw material. So sugarcane spirits means all the spirits based on the juice of sugarcane. Then agricole is is an AOC, which means appellation d'origine contrôlée, which is a sort of system of rule that from 1986, but is something that in Martinique and Guadeloupe, which are the most famous provenances of this category. They are France. Okay, so they are territories of France, and so for this reason, it's many decades, let's say. Then they create the system of rule in 1996, and the purpose was to create rules, let's say, to give a value, to give some credibility in some way, to protect and to give value to the category. And so behind the name agricole, you have a list of things that involve, the agriculture, the sugarcane varieties, and also the length of the fermentation, which kind of yeasts, how to distill. And this is the most important thing, because in all agricole rum, so basically 7 distilleries in Martinique and 8 in Martinique and 7 in Guadeloupe, they produce more or less in the same way in terms of fermentation and distillation, because this way is exactly, you know, regulated, let's say. Sugarcane spirits is much wider, you know, and for example, Grogu. So the second one you're tasting,
that one
is a sugarcane spirit, but since it's not from Martinique and Guadeloupe, is not should not be considered agricole, okay, in a strict way.
So,
but it's juice.
Which islands can call themselves agricole rums?
Well, I said Martinique and Guadeloupe. The truth is that only Martinique create a proper system of rule. Guadeloupe has another system of rule. Danilo could be surely much, you know, much more precise than me. So they have two slightly different system of rules, but let's say that both call themselves agricole, and they protect this name. So all the other countries should not define themselves or their rums agricole. Okay, so they are from juice, but they don't follow the rules of Martinique and Guadeloupe, and so they are simply different kind of spirits from the juice. Grogu, the one you're trying, is from Capo Verde. Okay, Capo Verde is historically much before than the French islands. You know, was one of the very first origins of sugarcane spirits, Grogu, so Capo Verde, because was basically on the way from Europe to go to Brazil. I'm talking about Portuguese people. And in these beautiful islands, there are hundreds of small producers. It's, if you know Claren, that we are, I mean, going deeper later, yeah, exactly. So it's more or less the same history behind. So ancestral production, completely out from our world, and so out from any kind of system of rules, okay? But it is a juice rum, 100%. And if you feel this second one quite funky, okay, is because it's made with spontaneous fermentation. So spontaneous fermentation means without yeasts, selected yeasts, okay? And so is
they're added. So any
not yeasts added, exactly.
100% naturally present in the distillery or on the grapes on the sugarcane itself. That's quite a kind of, for me.
Yeah, exactly. Also, the distillation is different. It's very different from agricole. We have Grogu, we have Claren, the next one, just because Luca Gargano and you know, Velier is doing from a long time this work of exploring, you know, different horizons, you know, of sugar. Basically, Rum, so the previous one, was the first real experiment made by Luca and Capovilla. You know, this was 2006, 2007, to try to create a different way of agricole rum, but not really agricole, you know, but let's say sugarcane juice rum. So it's very different. Probably you feel in the first glass like an elegant Jaguar, you know, you are from there. And the second one is like a Land Rover, you know. So they are both beautiful stuff, but one is distilled by Capovilla, so it's a Jaguar. Also, Capovilla has a Jaguar, so maybe it's for this reason.
Yes.
And the second one is a Land Rover because it's funky. It's again, is a
I think
rustic, you know. So it's a completely different style.
Vittorio, if we go back to the first one, which I think Daniele is really right, it's so elegant, and you get this lovely sort of green, kind of sort of slightly herbaceous character. I get a little linseed. I get some really bright, fresh fruits on it. And what are you doing in terms of distillation on this rum?
Yeah, that is because of how we distill it. So there are many differences between the other sugarcane juice rums and what we do. The first one is that we ferment the pure sugarcane juice and not diluted, because usually when the
wild fermentation or your natural or your
inside another distillery which uses selected yeast, so it's impossible for us to do spontaneous fermentation in that distillery. So we also use some yeasts which are starters, not killer yeasts which give a direction, because that is what we don't want to do. Anyway, so we ferment the pure sugarcane juice. During the press they make on the sugarcanes, usually they add a lot of water, so the sugarcane juice is diluted up to 50%, maybe also. We take just the juice from the first press, and that makes a lot of difference during the fermentation. And what is different with other rums fermentations is that the hour lasts up to 6-8 days. So it's a super long time of fermentation. So Capo is answering as a combo. So long fermentations, even if they are not spontaneous fermentations.
And I think something key to say is when you have a longer fermentation, you get more complexity and you get more intensity from your original wort.
Of course, compared to a 36 or 48 hours fermentation, there's a total difference between them. So because of the yeast, they can continue working and continue evolving and making the fermentation process longer. So many different aromas and complexity and substances are going to come from the fermentation. So the only thing we do during this fermentation process is to controlling temperature. Here at home in Italy, we like to stay between 15 and 22, 23 degrees of temperature. Usually, obviously, it's different in the summertime or in the winter time. We have some controlled temperature containers which we can heat up or cool down. And in the Caribbean, obviously, the temperatures are higher than the ones we have here. So the range is a little bit higher, but we want to control them to let the fermentation to end. And then we distill it with a bain-marie system, which is totally different, also that one. So, and a double distillation, says Capo. As we do here for the fruit distillates and also for the...
bain-marie as well for all your destillados as well, don't you?
For us, sugarcane juice spirit is as a fruit spirit, so nothing different except for obviously the raw material, which makes all the difference. So anyway, a double distillation. In the first one, we don't separate heads and tails, and we keep all the liquid, which goes from 25 to 35, also 30, 35 ABV. And then we distill it again. In that second distillation, we're going to separate heads and tails. But it's a super much longer distillation. So compared to the classical, not rums distillation, but industrial distillation we have in Italy and in Europe, we need 10 times more time, energy, and costs to produce a spirit that way. So super long times, but at the end, that means we just get the pure heart of the spirit, because the temperature in double distillation with bain-marie system distillation, the temperatures are much lower than a traditional one. So we stay maximum up to 100 or 102 degrees, which is the boiling point of water, which stays outside, and there is no contact between the heat and the raw materials we distill.
E poi una cosa importante, Digeo, che non si sta ricordando, che i rum agricoli, intanto in 48 ore dalla canna che si è fatto il rum, che li distilla in colonne in controcorrente, dove non ha nessuna possibilità di tagliare le teste e le code. Questo bisogna che io dici, e pertanto i porta, sempre i trascina, siccome che si presenti teste e code, inevitabilmente ha sta rusticità, sto vegetale che non riesce a separare.
So usually between the fermentation and the bottling, so you need 5 days to produce a classical sugarcane rum, because the fermentations last 48 hours, as I said before, And then the distillation is totally different. So it's a continuous distillation with the Colon Creole. And with that distillation, you cannot cut heads and tails. So at the end, the liquid is full of unwanted parts, in our opinion, and heavy parts like vegetal oil, and also the heads, obviously, which are not just yeah, exactly. So we don't like them for many reasons, because they are not safe and also not good to drink and for the smell, for the aromas. So everything is totally different. Yeah.
So may I add something like 30 seconds to make people maybe understand? So imagine that you have like agricole rums.
You're just gonna do it. I'm joking.
Like 30 seconds.
I wait the end. I
You
wait
have
the
like
end.
agricole rum are made in column, in continuous column, as Alvise was saying, okay? And these are like 15 distilleries, okay, more or less. And from Martinique and Guadeloupe, okay? So, and they create these rules, so it's quite, how can I say, consistent, the style, okay? Because it's a product of a system of rules. So you have agricole here, and around what agricole terms, that because they created this meaning, you have a lot of other kind of juice rums, and some of them are really old style, you know, ancestral, as Grogu, as the second one, as Clairen, as Haiti, in Madagascar. You have stuff like this in Colombia, in many countries in the world. You have sugarcane, so you have people, you know, cutting and crushing and distilling, okay, historically, I mean. And then you have also some few experiments that are more modern, okay, that are pot still or so double distillation, let's say, but are experiments created in the last, I don't know, 15 years. And one is exactly Rum, okay? That again is a project 2006. But the idea was, let's do this project to try to make the perfect one, you know, in double distillation. Another experiment is this one, but I'm not allowed to speak about this today. So again, to understand the map of juice rum, again, there are 15 agricole like Martinique and Guadeloupe, and then you can discover more and more, I hope, because it's an exploration, okay? So more and more in the future of smaller distilleries made in double distillation. Okay.
So Danilo,
very new.
Sorry, Danny, what did you say?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
How different your distillation is in Damoiseau and what you know, because I mean, you pick up the two rums and they're, if you look at Rum and you look at Damoiseau, they're totally different. I mean, for me, Damoiseau's got a little bit more nuttiness. It's got this really kind of lovely kind of fruit there, but it's totally, and also I think it's got a little bit more weight. It's a little bit more oily in terms of, okay, fine, this is a higher ABV, so it makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very long discussion. I don't know how many hours we have for talking about agricole or not, but still or not, you know. But yeah, what is sure is that, as we know, rum there's a huge diversity, and even into the tiny agricole world, there is another diversity. This is a totally different approach. I mean, the Y50 and I love the 35 bottle. It's another approach. What I mean, I say different. This is the rum that is made for the people. So all the sugar canes comes from the area of the distillery. That is actually the last distillery standing in Grand Terre for many historical reasons. But all the sugar cane that we use comes from that area. Okay, this is very important. And that's the approach that all the GI from Guadeloupe takes. What's important for the rum from Guadeloupe, or rum de Guadeloupe, as you want, but with the H as they write, it's to keep alive all the chain from the harvesting of the sugarcane, so from the producer, from the farmers till the bottling. It's a small island, and the economy is based on the sugarcane juice, on sugarcane. 90% of the fields in Guadeloupe are dedicated to sugarcane farming. 70% of that sugarcane are used for making sugar, because actually there are still 2 sugar factories and one a distillery, and it's the only distillery making molasses rum, actually a very nice one. But yeah, for the GI, what does it mean, GI? Sugar came from the island, locally aged, locally distilled, locally harvested. Everything must be local. Not for bottling. There are few companies making bottling in Europe, but it's not for Damoiseau anyway. And yeah, I think it's another way of approaching. Talking about distillation, yeah, Creole column, as they already said, it's a continuous distillation, but it's distilled with the power of steam. A different way of fermenting. We use a local yeast, selected yeast actually since 2010. It's very young. I always have to say, because people when we talk about rum thinks about big companies, but Guadeloupe, it's 12 distilleries, all owned by families. So there are not big budget for marketing, for studying, for one still a year, you know. So this is why little by little people start knowing. There is a GI in Guadeloupe that protects the field, actually. The goal for the GI is using sugarcanes all from the island and not using just one tiny piece of land. But as I said, I'm just a bartender, so I don't like to say the reason. There is everybody's reason. Everybody has his own approach, and it's another way. So, talking about the rum.
Yeah.
Open your drum, please. It's already done. So, you open the bottle, you have an explosion of flowers. That's why they love to have a short fermentation compared to other sugarcane juice rum. Short fermentation, 24, 36 hours, because we look for a very floral and easy alcohol to drink. So in 24, 36 hours, it's what Jean-Luc, the master distillery, looks for, having that floral and vegetal and fat.
Chamomile. Now I'm tasting it. I get
There's a lot of white flowers, for example. White flower, a little bit of melon, but there's a lot of pepper coming on the end. Fatness and very oily at the beginning. That's what I really love. Generally speaking, talking about agricole whites, and I really love that one. Yeah, this is bottled Guadeloupe. Sorry, from the glass is better. So yeah, how to drink it? It's very versatile, as I already told you. So perfect for a daiquiri. Everything was well in daiquiri, but I really like with agricole for the fatness, and once diluted a little bit with the ice cubes and the lime juice, you have all the vegetal notes coming out, and it tastes like sugar cane. So that's what I like.
I've been since lockdown. I have been perfecting my daiquiris. I am like turning into daiquiri queen. I'm going to take Angelo on for daiquiri queen.
And at least a 50 proof one, if possible. This is the rule.
Done.
But I think for Daniele and Alvise too, for Capo too, maybe, I don't know.
But so, I mean, like if we then go back, because I think, you know, all these white rums are so interesting. And, you know, Danny, I haven't let you talk about Claran. And I was introduced to Claran by actually Sukinda. And I immediately fell in love and have now I think I've declared my love about 100 times for everything that's Claran, especially Soju. And I just think, so this is communal. Can you tell us a little bit more about Claran? And is it a rum? Is it Claran? You know, how are we categorizing it?
So talking about Claran, it's important to understand Haiti a little bit, which is in terms of agriculture is the paradise. There's no other countries, I think, maybe in the world, difficult to say, but maybe in the world that are so rich in terms of biodiversity, in terms of richness of the soil, the earth, and the terroir, you know, as we normally say. And also, Clairen is the sugarcane juice spirit, as they call it there. Clairen means a clear, means a white, because it's not aged. I mean, it's not in the culture, as Danilo was saying, it's not in the culture of the people in the Caribbean in general to age rum for themselves. They age rum just to sell to you guys in Europe. What they drink there is just a white. That's why I'm happy we are also drinking some white rums, because also agricole is your way to understand white rums much more than molasses rum. So Haiti has, for his nature, for his history, still has like hundreds and hundreds of stills, let's say. We can also call them distilleries, but are like half of this room, which I am. So let's say production just for themselves, okay? So very small distilleries. Every village has his own still to produce for the consumption of the people of the village. So Haiti is a world in which the modern era never arrived, okay? So never arrived the yeasts, never arrived the chemical stuff, never arrived column distillation, and never arrived in general a mentality of producing spirits for making business, okay? So Clairen is just the, as how they call the local spirit. It's much more Land Rover than before, because it's really spontaneous fermentation. So it's very slow again and very long, as Alvise was saying. A very long fermentation develop all these flavors. Good question if we should call it rum or Clairen, or rum agricole or Clairen. And a good example, the good comparison is mezcal. Mm-hmm. So mezcal is not the ancestral tequila, you know. Mezcal is just mezcal. It's a category that now has been recognized, you know, in the last let's say 5 years from the market, from the consumers, from the rum lovers. And so now mezcal is a category, and it's correct. It's not a tequila. Maybe it's tequila that is an industrial mezcal. Mm. So Clairen is exactly like the mezcal of the sugarcane in some way, and so is a proper category. Okay, maybe it's gonna be longer, you know, for the people to understand a new category, but it's important to understand that is completely different than any other kind of agricole rum. For how it's produced, spontaneous fermentation again, very small distillation in with direct fire pot stills, but it's not only technical distinction, it's a cultural distinction. Okay, Clairen is made by the local people for the consumption of the local people, and you can find it in plastic, you know, tanks everywhere when you go there. Then we bottle, and now it's in UK and in some other countries. But you know, till 2012, when I've been there first time with Luca Gargano, was completely unknown, and now we are proud that we discovered this crazy spirit. And Communal, the version so basically we selected and we started bottling and importing 4 of these small shacks in the middle of the, you know, plantations there. And the one you have is called Communal, and this is a blend. Yes, is a blend of the 4 producers. Okay, so imagine you have 4 mezcal from 4 crazy producers on the mountains there, and what we decided to do is to create a blend, so a 5th product that is a blend, and also we cut down to 43% ABV, because Clarence is not diluted. Okay, in the village. I mean, as soon as it comes out from the still, they drink it, you know, before the sun goes down. So it's not aged and not diluted. But this one has been diluted by us to create a version that was more soft for mixology, more soft, you know, drinking, also more soft in terms of price. So I hope you will find also the single producers version. But you know, this Comunale, it's easier to drink and it's more like a glue. Okay.
And I think with Comunale, it's so fruity, and I think if you taste the different Clarins from the other producers, they're all very, very unique and distinct. You know, like, so one's a little bit more kind of funky, more kind of cheesy. One's a little bit more fruit driven. One's a little bit more herbaceous, and it's super interesting. And then together, yeah, you get this sort of really lovely. I actually have a question from the audience for Vittorio or Alvise. Are we going to see more rum releases distilled with Muller soon?
Se ci saranno imbottigliamenti nuovi.
Sì, a settembre porteremo a casa un po' di prodotto.
Can you hear us?
Yes, yes.
Per accelerare un po' i tempi, in modo che prima di fine anno abbiamo sia bianco che sarà il Liberazione 2020, che abbiamo 2 annate di invecchiato da imbottigliare, che è il 2011 e il 2012. E non è tanta cosa, però arriva in autunno. Sì.
Be happy because there are going to be some more rum. So everything stopped a couple of years ago. So we lost 2 production seasons because we are moving from the distillery we were in, which is Distillery Velier, which gave us the electricity, steam, water, spaces, and everything we needed to do to produce the rum, because we were not inside an our distillery. So it was BL Distillery, which was at the time partner of this project, which was divided in Velier, Capovilla, and BL. So now we're moving. Everything is super slow because the bureaucracy is killing us. So we are waiting to get in another place, always in the island, because Marie-Galante, which is not Guadeloupe, is super interesting to us because there are plenty of ancient varieties of sugarcane, and there are no industrial fruits cultivation. So no chemical substances in the air and in the soil, and it's a pure island. So that's the reason why we want to stay there. So we are planning to move. We are doing everything we need to move to another distillery in the island, and we guess that in September we are gonna shift the liquids, because we have still some white rum and also some aged ones. We're gonna send them here to Italy, and we're gonna bottle them here. So as in December, we're gonna hopefully have some new rum to sell. Yeah.
Well, I hope.
And also the aged one, because we have 2 vintages of aged rum we didn't bottle, which are the 2011 and also 2012, which we are going to bottle, both in the 40 ABV version, which I don't know if you know the bottles of the Distillation. So this one is the 2017, because every vintage changes labels. So the 2010 White Rum, which ages more than 6 years, 7 years, and we always do a double version. So the cast strength version, which is always 58, 59, 60, depending on the vintages, and also the 45 ABV, so reduced with water to 45, because market also need the reduced version. But Napo and Luca taste all the barrels. They always say, no, we have to keep.
They like high ABV, so we're pretty safe at the Whisky Exchange with cast strength. And I mean, I think it's really interesting, actually, Danilo, maybe you can jump in here now with the aged Damoiseau we have, because we've talked a lot about sort of the sugarcane juice and the white rums, which are beautiful, but, you know, agricole can also age. And can you talk a little bit about this one? So we have got a Damoiseau 2009.
Yeah, 2009, this is the foolproof version. Actually, this is part of a series of 6 different bottles harvested from 2007, 8, and 9 that were amazing in Guadeloupe for the sunny season. It was a very warm season, and we had amazing sugarcane juice those years. So as for the 2007 and 2008, 2009, we have the 2 versions, the 42 proof, which is classic dilution that we use for the aged rum. And then you have a full proof, so cast strength, which is CC69. So it's a rum that really needs to breathe a little bit. And it's a classic sipping rum. I really like it. I'm more a fan of white rum, as I told you. But I'm fan, especially this one, the 2009, the 2008, because there is still a balance between agricole and the wood from the barrels, and what I like in aged agricole. So having still a fruitiness coming out. When it's too much age, it can come a little bit overwoody.
Yeah, you can say the wood tannins overtake the fruit.
And I can drink rums like that, but we lose a little bit, I think, that typical agricole character, which means fresh fruit, vegetables, a little bit of spices. So I don't know if you try it, but this is amazing. When you put in the mouth, you have straight cooked fruits, mango chutney, passion fruit. It's very, very fruity. And there's a little bit of smokiness coming from the tiny barrel that we use for the aging. This was aged in bourbon cask of 180 liters, so very tiny cask. And I really like the change between the fruits and the spices, a little bit that the cinnamon coming on the end, but it's very complex. It's a very complex rum, and I like it.
It's beautiful, actually. It's a long time since I've tried this one, and actually you get this lovely salty character as well, which I really I think what I like about the agricole and the sugarcane juice rums is that you get this savory character, which I think balances nicely throughout everything. And we'll just, Danny's asked me for 30 seconds, but I'm just going to talk about the St. James.
No, first one stuff I realize now that you should send samples also to speakers. Why I'm not drinking Damoiseau?
I didn't say because she's live. But
that is the question.
Okay,
no, I mean, no, just one stuff. When Alvise was talking about, rum, was a Liberación. I don't know, because I understand Italian, and so I understood that Capo was saying 2010, so 2010, so Liberación 2017 is actually a distillation 2010. Why is it so important? Why Capovilla was saying 2010? Because in molasses rum, the reason you know that this aged rum is 2010 distillation, 2017 bottling is just because it's 7 years, right? Because if you distill next year or previous year, basically is the same, you know? This is molasses rum. In agricole rum, it's very important that is the distillation 2010. That's why Capovilla was pushing this information, because agricole rum are product of agriculture. That's why they call them agricole. Also because the sugarcane juice has a season as any fruit and any agricultural product, you know. So you can produce only in the season of these fruits, okay? This is the point. For molasses rum, you can produce 12 months, so it's not so important I mean, it's not a seasonal product. That's why it's not agricultural product. The point they call it agricole is because the raw material comes from the agriculture. Okay, and molasses rum, they come from basically the sugar factory. So it's a completely different spirit. That's the I think what we should learn from this session is that agricole rum are another spirit than molasses rum.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you get that the more you taste them and the more you experiment with them, and the more I get excited about them, because they really do speak more about the land and about the terroir and about the people. And I think that's what's so exciting. And we do have a question actually from Facebook. So what do the different stills, pot and column, add to the distillate? Anyone can answer that.
What you said at the end?
So what do the different stills, either the pot still or the column still, add to the distillate? So how does it affect the character of the distillate?
I think there is one person who can answer.
Yeah, exactly. There is only one person that can speak about distillation in this Zoom, guys.
Yeah. Vittorio, over to you.
Capo's turn.
Sì, la differenza è molto semplice. L'aveva spiegato prima Alvise, che nella distillazione dei rum agricoli, che vengono distillati in colonne creole, non c'è la possibilità di separare le teste e le code. Pertanto stanno molto attenti a fare fermentazioni il più pulite possibile, perché poi se ci sono dei difetti di fermentazione si ripercuotono anche nel prodotto finale. E per far questo, per evitare che ci siano fermentazioni batteriche e pertanto influenze aromatiche negative, tendono a acidificare, a abbassare il pH, cioè è proprio un'impostazione completamente diversa. Con la distillazione a bagnomaria, che è un sistema discontinuo, noi abbiamo la possibilità di guidare la nostra Jaguar dove vogliamo noi, non siamo costretti come in un treno che o corriamo o ci fermiamo, perché è un sistema continuo e naturalmente le colonne creole sono a 16 piatti e quello che esce dalla colonna è un misto di alcoli che sono rettificati da 16 a un piatto, pertanto un miscuglio di alcoli più o meno ricchi, diciamo così, e che inevitabilmente trascinano anche tutto quello che è il carattere eventualmente anche negativo delle fermentazioni del coso. Pertanto, tanto per fare un esempio, loro fanno anche, comincia qualcuno a fare la canne bleue, a fare dei singoli, però sono sempre molto, cioè con quel sistema, siccome sono sempre un po', come dire, rustici, un po' sporchi, non estraggono, non hanno la possibilità di estrarre il carattere reale del succo di canna. È sempre un po' mescolato anche con toni di fermentazione e le teste e le code che sono presenti e che non possono separare.
So the main difference is that with a column distillation, as I said before, so there's no separation of the parts coming from the distillation. So it's a continuous distillation in these 16 plates columns, the colonne créole we're talking about. So at the same time, the alcohol vapors which come out of the still are coming from maybe the 16th plate and from the first plate and are totally different. So there's no separation of heads, tails, and coming from going from maybe super high ABV or a lower ABV, they take many different parts, which not always are good and interesting. So what a column distillation producer does is trying to have the cleaner fermentation as we can have, maybe with taking down the pH for cleaner fermentation. What we do with the bain-marie is, as I said before, just just taking the heart, because fermentation produces many different substances, like the SO2, like acids with it, which come out with the heads, and oily parts which come out with the tails, which sometimes are good, but most of the times are totally not good. So with a column distillation, you cannot separate them. With a pot still and a Bain-Marie distillation, you can do that. So that's the main difference between a column and a pot still. So a cleaner product or a richer but less clean product.
Senza tenere conto delle velocità di distillazione.
See, and also the timing and the long how long is the distillation is different. Also that one here.
Perfect. Now, before we wrap up, does anyone have any more questions on Facebook or in the room? Anyone got anything? Have we geeked you out enough? No, I mean, really interesting. And I think what I wanted to take from this today and sort of say to everyone today is really go out, try these beautiful rums, and, don't be afraid just because they're not big, rich and treacly or have added sugars or anything like that. These are pure. This is about as pure a product as you can get. And, that's what makes me excited as a wine person, as a spirit lover. They're beautiful. And I think Danilo gave some really great examples of how you can use them and not, need to try and straight. But, I will sit and drink Clarin quite happily straight. I'll sit and drink rum straight. I'll sit and drink Damoiseau straight. These are, especially the aged ones, also, they're so versatile. You can do so much with them. And it's about going out and not being afraid to try things differently and try different things. But, I think absolutely beautiful. Thank you guys so much. As always, I absolutely adore speaking to you guys. Hopefully. See you in the UK, or maybe I might get myself to Italy at some point in the
I'm in Paris actually.
Yes, definitely. But no, it'd be so good to kind of have you guys over in the UK, because I mean the rums are great, but I'm so honored to have Capo here today, because as I said, one of the first spirits I ever tried was the Capovilla distillatos, and I remember the peach one. I was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And
as soon as this COVID phase finishing, we're gonna come to London for sure for some tastings, and also for the distillates, the grappas, and all the spirits we produce for sure.
Dei Caraibi, la banane, ananas, pomala.
Capo is saying about the Guadeloupe and Marie-Galante distillation that we didn't distill just sugarcane juice. We also tried the fruits coming from the maybe some bananas, pomalaca,
ananas,
some pineapple spirits. So we did many different things. Maybe the next time we are gonna drink together or something. Take some.
Quando vediamo frutta non resistiamo, insomma.
It's impossible to not distill for us.
Because the last time we talked champagne, so I owe him champagne. But no, grazie mille, Danilo.
That's it.
Ciao.
Thank you so much.